Return of the Frozen Player, Chapter 1, Wuxia World Prologue. On January 1, 2019, the world changed. Gates, monsters, system, players. These new concepts sprang up from nowhere. Those who protect and those who invade. These two powers fought all over the world. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. On November 4, 2024, all players received a message from the system. The final boss for the area, Earth, the Frost Queen, has appeared. Upon her defeat, safe zones will be added. The final boss? If we just defeat her, we can go back to our normal lives. Countless players were filled with newfound determination, and their hope was rekindled. For a day. That's how long it took for hope to become despair. On the day that the Frost Queen walked out of the gate, the Southern Pacific froze over. With a flick of her wrist, everyone's determination froze along with it. There were only 5 people who weren't shaken. These top players took a plane to Antarctica. Let's catch that Frost Queen. All for the sake of what others thought impossible. Final dungeon, Antarctica. The Queen's Nest, 2nd floor. The 5 players stood in front of the stairs leading to the next floor. A message popped up. Only one person may go up the stairs. Are you fucking kidding me? After coming all this way. A muscular man stomped the floor with a loud bang as he swore. Doesn't that mean that the other 4 will die here? From the moment they entered the nest, they'd been chased by the Frost Queen's breath. There was only one way to avoid getting frozen by the poisonous breath, to keep climbing. This meant that only one person would ascend and that the remaining 4 would freeze to death. There's only 2 minutes left until the breath catches up. Let's choose quickly, the great mage Skia said as she looked to the others. I think Spectre should go. He has the best chance of killing the Frost Queen. I could kill her too. And who would win in a fight between you two? Tisk touche. The muscular giant raised his hands in surrender. The man wearing a cowboy hat, Gilbert Green, nodded in agreement. I agree. With the exception of Spectre, our odds against the Frost Queen aren't too great. That's true. He was right. Kali had great physical strength, but that wouldn't be a match for the Frost Queen. If she so much as breathed or raised her hand, the entire area around her would freeze. It was the same for Tenmei Mio, who was protecting Japan. She and Skia already had their hands full guarding against the Frost Queen's approach from the rear guard. Then it settled. The 4 of them turned to look at Spectre. He wore a black mask. Are you sure you won't regret this? A dry voice spoke from behind the mask. Ramadat shrugged. We probably will. A whole fucking lot. But what can we do? You have the best chance of succeeding. All right. Then, I'll kill her before her breath reaches us. No way. That's impossible. Tenmei Mio shook her head. Please don't rush because of us. Lie in wait until you're sure you can kill her. Mio's right. It's impossible to kill her in 2 minutes. If you rush in like that, you'll actually give her the initiative. Ramadat and Skia nodded in agreement. You hear that? Don't be impatient, and kill her properly. That's what it'll take to be the one that goes up. I don't know about the rest of us, but you can definitely do it. Spectre looked at his faithful teammates. If he was the one that was left behind, could he cheer them on so casually? He couldn't. Biting his lip under his mask, he gave a heavy nod. I'll see you again. I promise. His teammates laughed and told him that they got it, that he should go. With that empty promise, Spectre ran up the stairs, skipping multiple steps at a time. He didn't look back. Because he couldn't afford to at the time. Crash not even when the stair crumbled behind him and he couldn't hear their voices anymore. His eyes were fixed on the top of the stairs. At that moment, he reached the top. So you've finally come to my grave. The final boss for the area Earth, the Frost Queen, has appeared. Upon her defeat, safe zones will be added. In the middle of the room, the Frost Queen sat on a frozen throne. Her legs were crossed, her demeanor elegant and aloof. But Spectre wasn't fooled by her alluring appearance. The aura that she radiated threatened to freeze everything around her. Ching! The sound of the weapon being drawn seemed to lower the temperature. Spectre spoke in a flat voice. 5 years. That's how long the world had been changed to become like a game. Let's end this. End this. The Frost Queen burst out in laughter, covering her lips with her slender fingers. Ah ha ha ha! You really don't know anything about this world? I'm only here to kill you. Why would I need to know such things? Woong? Darkness surged around him, and the ice started to fill with black. The best player in the world, Spectre Seo Junho, opened his mouth. All I need to confirm is your death and the end of this game. Darkness and ice clashed, creating a massive explosion. Ha, ha, at the end of a long battle, the Frost Queen let out a violent cough. Her complexion was pale, but a smile teased at the edge of her lips. I had fun. I didn't. With a sullen voice, an exhausted Sun Junho swung his broken sword with as much force as he could muster. Slice? The Frost Queen's head was no different from other living organisms. It was cut through cleanly. At the same time, a message rang in his ears. Congratulations! The boss for Area Earth, the Frost Queen, has been defeated. You have received the title The One Who Opens Spring. Safe zones have been created on Area Earth. Phew, Sun Junho let out a long breath. He'd done it. It had been 5 years since the world had become hell. He'd finally exacted revenge on the monsters who'd stolen his normal life. Mother, father. Thinking of his parents, Sun Junho looked at the digital clock with nervous eyes. His teeth dug into his lips, bringing a metallic taste to his mouth. Shit. I'm so sorry. Fight time, 76 hours 48 minutes and 16 seconds. His comrades had already frozen long ago. I couldn't keep my promise. He looked at the ground in shame and exhaustion. In that moment, a hellhound crawled out from the ground and started chewing at the Frost Queen's body. Crunch, crunch. After it finished its scrumptious meal, the hellhound spit something out before it disappeared. A nucleus. It was a power source some of the monsters used. It was also a new energy source that had recently been in the spotlight. My friends sacrificed themselves. Roll. With a horrified expression, Seo Junho reached down to pick it up. For something like this. But when he picked it up, a dizzying amount of messages appeared. Warning, you have started to absorb the Frost Queen's nucleus. Absorption percentage 0.001%. Because of the cold it radiates, the Frost Queen's nucleus will cause your stats to drop to level 1. Strength 217 to 21, Stamina 201 to 24, Speed 225 to 26, Magic 183 to 18 Watt. Startled, Sun Junho started to drop the nucleus, but it had already started to absorb through his skin. Frost started to spread on his skin and he felt his blood flow and his heartbeat slow. The horrible chill filled his veins and his body. His joints went cold, and his chin shook uncontrollably, causing his teeth to chatter. This crazy dungeon, Sun Junho felt his consciousness slip, and froze. Someone asked, everyone, what's on November 11th? In the past, they would have answered Pepero Day, but the answer changed in the year 2024. Huh? That's the Day of Heroes. Is that even a question? The Day of Heroes. After 2024, November 11th became the day that the 5 heroes saved the world. From the middle of October to the beginning of November, tickets to Korea sold like crazy. There was a simple reason. On that one day, the frozen statues of the 5 heroes were put on display at the Seoul History Museum. The result of such a world that was overrun with monsters, thousands of people sat in their seats, listening to the suit-clad curator on stage. She spoke in Korean, but thanks to the live translation system, there was no one who couldn't understand. In 2024, a monster that humanity could not quell appeared. A kindergartner wearing a yellow hat raised their hand and yelled, "The Frost Queen? I heard from my teacher." That's right. Our young friend is smart, the curator said with a smile. The Frost Queen was a monster that could freeze the southern Pacific with one wave of her hand. While everyone else lost hope, 5 people had hope in their hearts as they traveled to Antarctica. The Nest Attack Team. Right again. These legendary players achieved the most important thing in history. The lights on the stage flicked off. The curator swallowed as she looked at the audience. She pulled her hand back. The curtain was pulled aside, and 5 frozen statues stood behind a reinforced glass wall. Today, we call them the 5 heroes. Please be respectful. Cameras flashed all over. The audience was captivated by the statues. Some closed their eyes and said a prayer of thanks. Thanks to the 5 heroes, the Frost Queen was defeated and numerous safe zones appeared. Additionally, as the curator launched into a deep explanation, the kindergartner pointed, eyes wide. The statue moved. Oh ho, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. The curator smiled and shook her head. The temperature behind the wall is regulated 24/7, so there Won't be, crack. The curator paused at the peculiar sound and turned around. She cautiously took a step forward to check the statues beyond the wall. The sound had come from the direction of Spectre's mask-wearing statue. She let her gaze linger for a moment, but the statues had been fine for 25 years. Well, as I was saying, there wouldn't be any problems. She'd barely gotten the words out of her mouth when one of the statues shattered and a person fell to the ground. Ugh, you. System filled his eyes and ears with messages. Absorption percentage 99.9999%. Absorption percentage 100%. Congratulations. You have completely absorbed the Frost Queen's nucleus. You have received the new skill Frost, X. Level. Has been initialized. What is, cold? He slowly raised his gaze, meeting the eyes of a shocked audience. He's moving. Holy shit. TL/N text originally in English, he's alive. Spectre is alive. Hey, someone call a doctor, right now? Hey, this is front page stuff. Start writing an article right away? I mean, if they let us. This is big news. In an instant, the audience erupted in noise. The return of the Frozen player 002 25 years later. 1. The legend awakes. A modern-day Captain America? Spectre wakes up 25 years later after defeating the Frost Queen and saving the world. Korean Player Association's press conference. Spectre's health is our top priority. Day of Heroes fundraising breaks record numbers. Tap. Seo Junho folded away the newspapers he was reading on his hospital bed. So, it's been 25 years. He'd blinked once and 25 years passed, just like that. The world hadn't changed much, so he wasn't exactly shocked. He'd first wondered if it was something like a hidden camera prank, but there was too much evidence against that. My muscles are gone. They've completely atrophied. Seo Junho stared down at his body, dumbfounded. His bones poked through. The body he'd trained vigorously for 5 years was gone, just like that. Spectre Nim. The president of the Players Association has come to see you. Wherever he went, the top doctors of the world spoke to him with their 2 hands clasped together T/N a sign of respect/hierarchy. That was the least they could do to show respect to the savior of humanity. Seo Junho wasn't uncomfortable with this, because this is how he'd always been treated. Is the president someone I know? If he didn't, he would tell them to leave. It hadn't even been a day since he woke up. He didn't want to be bothered already. But the doctor said something surprising. Yes. The president spoke casually and said you were their friend. Friend? Huh. There weren't many who he considered a friend. Well, I suppose I'll know once we meet. Seo Junho turned to look out into Seoul, as if he was amazed. I suppose the world really has changed. There were many more skyscrapers, and magic had been used to get rid of the fine dust pollution. More than that, there wasn't a single gate in Seoul. It's the peaceful world that we wanted. Thinking of his comrades, Seo Junho closed his eyes and smiled faintly. What will I do now? The world had changed when he was 20, and he'd become a player and cleared gates. The only thing he knew how to do was to hunt monsters. I guess I'm unemployed now. It wasn't an unpleasant thought. With an unburdened heart, he took off his mask. Hup. The doctors covered their mouths, swallowing screams. Besides his Korean nationality, Spectre was a mystical figure whose name, age, and face were unknown. But to take off his mask so casually? One of the doctors spoke with a shaky voice. Why did you take off your mask? Huh? I don't need it anymore. Seo Junho said this as he twirled his trademark mask in his hands. The world is peaceful now. A shadow crossed over the doctors' faces. Seo Junho noticed the shift. What's with your reactions? No, that's, the doctors couldn't say anything, and only glanced at each other. I'll explain. As the door opened, a put-together man stepped in. Upon seeing his face, Seo Junho's eyes went wide. He had a few wrinkles now, but it was a face he would never forget. Are you Diaku? The doctors turned their heads away as they held back their laughs. Ahem. The man turned to the doctors, his face slightly red. I want to speak to him in private. Yes, President. After the doctors trickled out, the president pulled up a chair and took a seat. His eyes started to water. Junho, you still look exactly the same. Even after 25 years, his friend was exactly the same. He was at the age when his skin started to wrinkle and his stomach started to stick out. But he still looked exactly as he did when he was younger. On the other hand, Junho's healthy body had deteriorated to be sickeningly skinny. The lingering doubt faded, and the president bit his lower lip. Wow, that voice. You really are Deoku. It had become rougher with age, but it was the voice of his childhood friend Shim Deoku. Seo Junho stared at his friend who'd become a middle-aged man. He started laughing as he noticed something. Hey, look. I told you that M-shape was a sign of balding. You said it wasn't. That's all you have to say after. He'd gotten choked up in the moment, and Shim Deoku let out a sigh. That's right. The Seo Junho I knew was always like this. What kind of heartfelt reunion, did you really expect that? Seo Junho was still gripping his stomach and laughing. 25 years. Pfft, it's been 25 years but there's still no cure for balding. The wigs are good. You can't tell the difference. I didn't wear one today because I was in a rush. Really? Then show me next time. You'll be surprised. Those two really did like to speak of such trivial things. Without a moment to breathe, they launched into another topic. Shim Deoku would start talking, and Seo Junho would peel clementines from the basket and chime in. A few hours passed like that. T/N in Korea, people are often given big baskets of fruit as get-well gifts. Shim Deoku smiled fondly. You rascal, you're exactly the same. Even after 25 years, the two friends who were born and raised together were still the same. Deoku had actually been nervous on the way to the hospital. He was scared to show Junho the adult he'd become. But they were still talking as freely as before. You're the same too. Though your stomach sticks out a bit now. You try getting old. Seo Junho spoke to a bashful-looking Shim Deoku. Now that you're not so tense anymore, tell me why those doctors reacted like that. There was no more avoiding the topic. Shim Deoku swallowed. The moment you guys defeated the Frost Queen, all the players received the same message. He looked out the window as if recalling the memory. Congratulations. The Frost Queen has been defeated. Safe zones will now appear on the area Earth. The whole world rejoiced. They didn't need to fight anymore. They could live peacefully like before. Players and non-players alike cried tears of joy. But the message didn't stop there. A dimensional elevator has been unlocked in the Pacific area. The second floor frontier area has opened. The max level in the frontier will be raised from 80 to 120. Stay strong until you reach the last floor. What? Fuck, what kind of shit is this? 2nd floor? So it didn't end with the Frost Queen. People fell into a panic. There was nothing else they could do. They'd thought it was the end, but it was actually only the beginning. Strong players, association presidents, and politicians from all over the world held a big conference. During the days it was held, the players kept receiving the same message. The only way to stop Earth's destruction is to go up the floor. The only way to stop Earth's destruction is to go up the floor. The only way to stop Earth's destruction is to go up the floor. Earth's destruction. Frightened by the ominous phrase, the people came to a decision. For now, they would have to send a scouting team to the newly opened second floor. So, Seo Junho asked this in a low voice. Hearing the anger and dejection in his voice, Shim Deoku carried on. The second floor was a land of opportunity. It had abundant resources, new magic, and new techniques. We were able to harvest a great amount of resources and knowledge from there, and it's the reason Earth is in such an abundant state today. That's not what I wanted to know. There's 10 floors in total. Shim Deoku cut him off. That's what you wanted to know, right? The dimensional elevator has buttons for floors 1 to 10, so if there are only 10 floors, Seo Junho relaxed a bit. He and his teammates had taken 5 years to clear the first floor and defeat the Frost Queen. And if it's been 25 years since then, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they should have at least reached the 7th floor by now. But he didn't expect even that much. At the time, the difference in skill between my team and the other players was huge. There had been an immeasurable difference between them. That was why only 5 people went to Antarctica. Anyone else would only be a burden. And since the difficulty would have increased, realistically, they've probably only reached the 5th floor or so. Finishing his calculations, Seo Junho looked back at Shim Deoku. So what floor are we on? Shim Deoku opened and closed his mouth a few times before squeezing his eyes shut. Feeling nervous, Seo Junho pressed him on. Hey, why won't you say anything? There was a long silence. Shim Deok-gu let out a long sigh and opened his eyes. In the past 25 years, all we've cleared is the second floor. Upon hearing that, Seo Junho's mind went blank. All he did was lay on his fluffy bed and stare at the ceiling. Finally, he spoke again. Shit. I don't have anything to say. It's been 25 years. 25. How could you only clear the second floor? I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but there's a reason for this. Who? All right. Having sat up, Seo Junho stared expectantly. Well, say it. If anything, I'm curious what kind of stupid reason it is, the Frost Queen's nucleus. As soon as the words left his mouth, Seo Junho started to tremble. Not noticing, Shim Deok-gu continued. The third floor resembles a volcanic region. Most players can't even withstand the environment. We decided that it's impossible to launch an attack and searched for any possible means to withstand the heat. And there's an altar where the lava originates. If we freeze it with the Frost Queen's nucleus, the environment will change. Did you find it? Who? Shim Deok-gu hung his head and covered his face with his hands. I'm ashamed. We searched the nest countless times, but we couldn't find it. Of course they hadn't, because it had been absorbed by Seo Junho. Seo Junho rolled his neck and stretched his arms. There's nothing else you could have done. I guess it was just bad luck. You understand? Even after we wasted all your efforts. Shim Deok-gu looked touched. I didn't notice when we were younger, but was he always this mature? At the same time, the two friends felt embarrassed for judging the other too quickly. The Seo Junho he knew would have thrown a fit, but he currently had a pure look in his eyes that didn't hide his guilt. Everyone makes mistakes. We have to understand each other. I'm glad you feel that way. So if I also make a mistake, you have to be understanding, all right? Of course. Shim Deok-gu looked at Seo Junho warmly. Quietly avoiding his eyes, Seo Junho pondered to himself. How can I tell him without being scolded too much? They talked for 8 hours until the neon signs in Seoul flickered on. Feeling hungry, Shim Deok-gu checked the time and spoke. Wow, it's already this late. Aren't you hungry? Wanna grab something to eat? Seo Junho shook his head after a moment. I'm fine. Rather than that, I have a favor to ask. A favor? What is it? I heard the Seoul History Museum is super famous. He meant that he wanted to go visit. Shim Deok-gu knew why. This rascal, he misses his teammates. Actually, he knew that he'd ask and had already made preparations. Even though he acted aloof, he treasured his friends as much as himself. Slide. Shim Deok-gu pulled out a bracelet and placed it on the bed. Seo Junho blinked. Wow, technology sure has come a long way. Is this the famous Seoul History Museum? Very funny. This is Vita. It's similar to a computer. Live interpretation, calling, internet, maps, payment. You can basically do everything with it. Sounds fun. So why are you giving this to me? As soon as he put it on his wrist, Shim Deok-gu started laughing. I'm going down to the first floor by the stairs. Reporters, politicians, and players are crowding the area, so it'll be more bothersome for you to come with me. You can just tell me to take an elevator. Why make it so complicated? Ahem. You can make most payments with Vita, but use this if you need cash. Deok-gu pulled out a big stack of bills. Hey, this feels kind of weird. I feel like I'm getting allowance from an agency. Shut up. If you go to the back of the museum, there's a door with restricted access. What's the password? I registered your iris. You've gotten better at these things. It's been 25 years. I wouldn't be the president if I didn't improve. Seo Junho looked at his friend with a new light. Come back to the hospital when you're done. The doctors want to monitor your condition for a while. Your wish is my command. I'll see you tomorrow, then. All right. Shim Deok-gu stood up to leave. But before he stepped out, he looked back 3 times. Why do you keep looking back? I still can't believe that you're back. You've gotten weirder with age. Hurry up and leave. Haha. Deok-gu left the room while laughing as Seo Junho threw a pillow at him. I should get ready too. He took off his patient gown and wore his clothes, which had been cleaned. There wasn't a huge difference in fashion in 2049. That's a relief. I was worried that tights or something would become popular. Well, it was obvious from looking at Diakgu's clean suit and the doctor's gown that not much had changed. He left his room and got on the elevator to the first floor. By the stairwell, Diakgu was surrounded by a huge crowd. Click, click. How is Spectre's health? Is there nothing wrong with him? Was it really Spectre? Keeping his identity secret is an abuse of power by the Player Association. The world has the right to know. When will you be holding a press conference? He answered calmly, not looking the least bit nervous. The look on his face was familiar as he answered questions with confidence. He really was a good president. You rascal. Good job. Seo Junho left the hospital with a small smile on his face. There were numerous taxis at the station in front of the hospital, but the driver's seats were empty. What? Did they all go out for dinner? Seo Junho crouched by the sidewalk, waiting for the drivers to return. A moment later, a sweating businessman ran forward. Geez, so much to do. He took a seat in one of the empty taxis. It took off. Huh? I'm sure there wasn't anyone in the driver's seat. Watching the taxi drive off, Seo Junho inched toward another. He carefully opened the door and took a seat. As soon as he did, an automated voice spoke. Please choose your destination. Seoul History Museum. Departing. The taxi started to move. Whoa, this is great. I really feel like I'm in the future now. As he looked around with an amazed expression, he spotted a small pamphlet. After the self-driving taxi was commercialized 18 years ago, the rate of traffic accidents have dropped to 0%. 0%? Wow, this world is amazing. The car was comfortable to ride into. Feeling better, Seo Junho opened the window as he smiled. The cool wind felt good on his face, and he took in the sight of Seoul's nightscape. The time was 8:20 p.m. The streets were filled with office workers in suits and young college students. It had been a rare sight when the Gates had appeared. Back then, we never knew when Gates or monsters would show up. He felt content as he watched the streets, and the taxi soon arrived at its destination. As he paid with Vita, he was met by a large park built with white stone. The courtyard of the museum was full of couples on dates and families who were out taking walks together. Something caught Seo Junho's eyes as he watched the children run around. Hey, isn't that my mask? The children were wearing plastic Spectre masks. When he looked around, he found a stand selling them. He stepped closer, feeling curious, and saw a small child pulling on his parent's sleeve. Please see, I want it. I want the Spectre mask. Be quiet. I bought you one last time. Last time was the Skia mask. Shush. Stop making a scene. Please see. TL/N crying noise I don't know how to TL, then Jinho can live here. Mom and Dad are going home. The child started to lay and cry on the ground, begging for the mask. Feeling a bit conceited, Seo Junho went up to the seller. Do the heroes' masks sell well? Of course they do. They're my most popular product. Especially, as if they were telling him a great secret, the seller looked around. The great mage Skias. They're the most popular, they said in a low voice. That doesn't make sense. Seo Junho's eyes went wide in surprise, and he looked at the seller with a confused expression. Doesn't Spectre's mask sell the best? Of course not. They're the fourth best. With a sour expression, Seo Junho looked at the other items that were for sale. The collection of masks wasn't complete. Well, the other heroes' masks have their faces on them, but we don't know what Spectre looks like. All we can do is sell this black mask. Of course the kids wouldn't like them, but they're cool. The black masks, I mean. T/N he's so petty. Well, kids like things that look pretty. I would like a mask. Seo Junho bought 4 Spectre masks and carried them in his arms. My original mask looks really cool. Though. He made his way to the back of the museum and found the door. After it scanned his iris, he had the Seoul History Museum all to himself. Wow, they put these on display. Inside the museum, there were monster models, hides and bones, along with battle gear from famous players of the past. Seo Junho walked around casually, looking at the display cases, and arrived in front of the morgue. Iris scan successful. Door is opening. Creak. As soon as the door opened, white smoke began to flow out. This chill, this feeling. The morgue felt eerily similar to the Frost Queen's nest. I suppose it's because they wanted to preserve the ice statues. He didn't feel good about it. It seemed that his comrades couldn't escape from the Frost Queen's grasp, even in death. Step, step. He reached the center of the morgue and stared hard at the 4 statues. The Great Mage, Skia Island. The King of Destruction, Rama.Kali. The Grey Envoy, Gilbert Green. The Sky Phoenix, Tenmei Mio. T/N Tenmei is her surname. They were his comrades, his reliable friends. I'm sorry I'm late. He'd carried out his promise 3 days ago, after 25 years. He'd never thought that he'd keep it. In this way, Russell. Seo Junho sat on the cold ground. Do you guys know? The world has gotten a lot better. Have you heard of the self-driving taxi? He explained the piece they'd brought together. He wasn't great with words, but he used his hands to explain every single detail. It's the peace we dreamed of. Even though it wasn't true peace, they'd saved humanity and the world. So please, my work is done, right? I can rest now, right? Seo Junho pressed his lips together, unable to say the words. Because if he did, he felt like he'd be admitting that it was the end. His friends were stuck in time forever in ice, and it seemed like only he was given that time back. Have a drink. He pulled a bottle of alcohol from his inventory and poured a bit in front of each of his teammates. Drip. Only a little bit for Mio and Skia, who didn't drink well, and plenty for the 2 others. He poured the rest down his throat. Kuth. TL/N like a groaning noise when you drink LOL. Feeling more awake, he put one mask in front of each statue. Take it with you. I've done a lot of good deeds, so they'll give you the VIP treatment in heaven too. He finished soothing his friend's spirits. Still, feeling some lingering regret, Seo Junho dusted the ice statue's shoulders. Hey, don't go around looking dirty like that. Tap, tap. He brushed the dust off their shoulders without a second thought. Effect of the skill Frost, X, has been checked. Seal of Frost, X, can be removed. Your base magic stat is not high enough. Removal failed. His eyes widened as he read over the 3 lines. What? As if he was possessed, Seo Junho touched the ice statue again. The same message popped up, but his mind was already racing. I can remove the seal? Me? Diakbu had said that the ice couldn't be melted even with the current technology or player skills. But he could. The Frost skill, he'd acquired the skill from the Frost Queen's nucleus. Phew, ha, phew, ha. Taking deep breaths to calm himself, Seo Junho fell deep in thought. He'd have to check his current stats before he did anything else. Status window. As soon as he muttered the words, a small hologram window appeared. It is one of the abilities the system gave to the players. Seo Junho level 1 title, the one who opens spring strength, 21 stamina, 24 speed, 26 magic, 18 frost, X, watchguard of darkness, S, hunters. Knight, A, hero's mind, A, weapon mastery, A, keen intuition, B. Original abilities have been drastically reduced. Original abilities will be restored as time passes and as you level up. He glanced at the special status section, and his eyes glimmered with hope. He had the Frost, X, skill. This is the key to saving his friends. Not only that, it had skipped right over the S grade to be an X grade skill. Diakbu always said that S grade was the highest. If Korea's Player Association believed that, that probably meant that he was the first one to ever have such a skill. Diakbu always said that S grade was the highest. If Korea's Player Association believed that, that probably meant that he was the first one to ever have such a skill. But the system said that my magic stat is too low to remove the seal. He looked closer at his status window. Tisk he'd dropped from level 80 and his stats were depressingly low. But it wouldn't be that way forever. I'll be able to restore them. Of course, it wasn't something he'd be able to do in a day or two. His keen intuition skill told him that. T/N girl, I can tell you that without a special skill, my magic is 18. Is this on purpose? He laughed until his chest hurt, remembering all the times his low magic stat had gotten in his way. Magic is always the problem. He'd tried supplements and magic boosting items, but his low magic stat always made things harder. He let out a long, frustrated sigh, and spotted something. Huh? The one who opens spring. He recalled that he'd received the title when he defeated the Frost Queen. He'd been a player for 5 years, but that had been the first title he'd ever received. When Skia created magic for the first time, she received the title Mage's First Steps. He remembered her boasting about getting 15 extra magic stat points and being able to cast spells faster. Either way, I think you can only get them from doing near impossible tasks. I should check the effects. The one who opens spring rank, S description, a title given to the one who defeated the master of the starting floor, the Frost Queen. Effects: plus 500% stamina and magic regeneration speed, plus 30 to all stats every time you go up a floor. At a loss for words, Seo Junho's eye widened, as if an earthquake was occurring. He reread the effects of the title over and over. These are the effects of the title? He thought it would have raised his stats by a little at best, just like Skia's. Bloody hell. This is far greater than that. To be honest, the plus 500% regeneration speed for stamina and magic was nice to have, but it wasn't essential. However, the second effect was something else. So all my stats will increase by 30 every time I go up a floor. In other words, the effect would activate every time he went up a floor on the dimensional elevator. Hypothetically, if he made it up to the 10th floor, all his stats would be greater than 270 at the very least. Oh my god. Junho got goosebumps all over his body thinking about such ridiculous stats. When he defeated the Frost Queen, his highest stat was speed at 225. His lowest stat was magic at 183. I wasn't afraid of anything before. So if all my stats become higher than 270, the look in Seo Junho's eyes changed. His stats would be a little over 270 at the bare minimum. Now, what if he was fully equipped and maxed out his levels? And on top of that, if I restore my original stats? He could picture it clearly in his head. The Frost Queen had an incredible amount of magic. The world froze over at a simple flick of her wrist. That power. No, I could obtain an even greater power than that. That amount of power should have no trouble thawing the ice statues. After collecting his thoughts, Junho silently stared at the 4 ice statues in front of him. After standing there for a good while, he quietly left the morgue. When he exited the museum, there was a resolve in his eyes that wasn't there before. There's 10 floors? I guess I'm climbing it. Did he want to reach the top floor to achieve humanity's desire to clear the game? Or perhaps to save the Earth from destruction? Bullshit. Seo Junho knew better than anyone else that he was a selfish person. There was only one reason he decided to not quit as a player. To free my friends from their freezing ice prison. That was the only reason he decided to become a player once again. He buried his resolve deep into his heart. What? You want to become a player again? The next day, Shim Deok-gu was shocked by Junho's sudden declaration. Junho looked up at him slyly while chowing down a large bowl of Sia Leongtang, Korean oxbone soup. Why are you so surprised? It's not like I know how to do anything else. But it's so sudden, aren't you? The same guy that used to whine about how you want to retire every day. People can have a change of heart. That's true, but I don't think that's the best idea. Because he thought that his friend would have been fully on board with the idea, Junho put down his spoon and questioned him. Why do you say that? First of all, I want you to get some rest. I've personally seen how hard you pushed yourself. I think you've done enough. It's about time you let go of all your burdens and find something you want to do. Nagging, and more nagging. This guy was always nagging him, but Junho was well aware that his friend nagged him out of genuine concern. His heartfelt concern made Junho smile as he asked the next question. So what's the second reason? It's because of the fiends. Huh? Are they at it again? The silence affirmed his question. Junho quickly got the gist of the situation. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that there are more of them when the world is like this. They're harder to get rid of than cockroaches. Fiends. They are people who had no interest in closing the gates or exterminating monsters. Instead, they were the scum of society, using their powers to commit crimes, murder, and terrorism. The fiends have been rampaging lately. That's funny. When I was around, they didn't even dare to peep. Well, that was back then. 28 years ago, all the fiends in the world went into hiding. It was because they feared the 5 heroes. They accepted the fact that they were no match and went incognito into the underworld. Once the second floor opened up, things changed due to the lack of video surveillance and satellites in the frontier. It meant that there was no means of monitoring and restricting the actions of the fiends. Shim Deok-gu stared at Junho. And we lost our 5 heroes. They were probably unbelievably elated. They must have been really pent up because they started going even crazier than before. The absence of someone to fear, someone to teach them a lesson with overwhelming power, meant that the fiends no longer had a reason to hold themselves back. I think I get why you don't want me to go back to being a player. Junho slowly nodded his head. If Diaku was telling the truth, it wouldn't be weird if he dropped dead at any moment. He was the perfect prey to the fiends who have accumulated more power over the last 25 years. With a hesitant voice, Junho asked, "Do they still hate me a lot?" "Are you kidding? They were probably happier than anyone to hear the news of your return, since they can finally kill you." "Fuck," said Junho with a frown. He thought he'd get to level up easily while being treated like a hero, but things had taken a turn for the worse. "That's why I'm telling you that it's a bad idea. The only way you could be a player right now is to abandon your mask and nickname of Spectre, but do you really want to do that? You could live being treated like a king while being protected 24/7 by the greatest players." "The 10th floor. I need to get there." "Wait, why all of a sudden?" Diaku clearly didn't understand what was going on. The Junho he knew should have been scheming how to collect the reward for saving the world. "The 3rd floor. Have you guys found a way to clear that floor yet?" "I already told you yesterday. There's no way to do it as of now." "What if I told you I knew a way how?" Diaku frowned his eyebrows. He knew Junho wasn't the kind of guy who would joke around with this kind of topic. "Can you explain what you mean by that?" "You said you were looking for the Frost Queen's nucleus, right?" "Yeah. Why? Do you perhaps know where it might be?" "I think I do." Slurp. Junho picked up the bowl and downed the remaining broth before continuing. "Ugh. I ate well. We were in the middle of talking, whatever. So what do you know?" "I ate well." "Hey, now isn't the time for you to talk about your Liangtang, but that's not what I'm talking about, though." Diaku started blinking in disbelief. "So if you're not talking about the Liangtang, wait, did you? Ahem. Please tell me I'm wrong. You're not actually saying something crazy like how you swallowed up the Frost Queen's nucleus, right?" When his friend suddenly got up in fury, seemingly ready to split his stomach open, Junho tried to calm him down. Whoa, you're still as hot-headed as always, huh? First hear me out. You, did you really fucking eat it?" "I didn't eat it because I wanted to. It's not my fault that it got absorbed into my body as soon as I touched it." "Oh lord. My doctor warned me I need to avoid stress," Diaku said, massaging the back of his neck. After a brief moment, he continued, his face now drained of energy. "I know you're not the type to bring things up if you don't have to. So, you have a solution, right?" "Yep." Junho nodded his head. "I got a frost ability after absorbing the nucleus. Is it possible to freeze the 3rd floor's altar with it?" "It's possible," Junho answered confidently. It was an X-rank ability. If he couldn't with this ability, it would also be impossible with the Frost Queen's nucleus. Phew, that's a relief. Diaku nodded his head to Junho's plan. He had zero doubts. His friend was the guy that defeated the Frost Queen, something everyone else deemed impossible. If Junho said it was possible, then it meant that it was possible. This also gave Diaku an insight as to why he wanted to become a player again. "This is related to your comrades, isn't it? None of them kept their promise to see me again later. I need to wake them up, so I can yell at them." "Wake them up? Is that actually possible?" "The system told me it was." "Really? That's great news." While giving a wide smile, Diaku started calculating things in head. It didn't take long for him to realize what Junho wanted right now. "If I recall correctly, the doctors saw your face earlier, right?" 9 of them saw, to be exact. "I happen to have a subordinate with the ability to erase memories. It'll be best if we take some precautionary measures." They were like 2 matching puzzle pieces. Seo Junho felt more comfortable chatting with Shim Diaku than anyone else. "Oh, by the way, my level was reset, so I'm level 1 now. Did that also reset your stats?" "Bingo." "Sigh, why do you always save the bad news for last?" After pinching the bridge of his nose, Diaku tried to think positively about the situation. "Let's look on the bright side. Others are probably assuming that you're still as strong as ever. They probably can't imagine the Spectre being only level 1. You won't have to worry about your identity being revealed for a bit. You're able to issue player permits with your authority, right?" "Well, the thing is," Diaku made an unhappy face. "After the 2nd floor opened up, guilds have become more powerful than the World Players Association. Did you guys lose the authority to issue permits?" "No, that's not quite it. Instead, A few guilds now stand in as observers during the association's player permit test. Only people who have passed this open exam are able to receive a player permit. I can't get around this rule even with my authority. Tisk, that's annoying. There's a lot more rules and regulations than before, but think about this as an opportunity. Diakgu's eyes glimmered as he spoke with excitement. Think about it. In order for me to fully back you, I need a proper reason. Aha, I see. Diakgu was telling him to get the best possible results on the test. If Junho proved that he was a player worthy enough to grab the attention of all the guilds, Diakgu would be able to provide massive support in the name of the association. Of course, you can't use your darkness skill at all. If possible, you should also hide your frost skill. I get darkness, but why frost as well? The fiends also know that ice-related skills are the key to clearing the third floor. It'll be best if you don't stick out in that regard. I get it. Laying on the hospital bed, Junho lightly cracked his neck. My body is ready. What equipment am I going to use for the test? Unfortunately, his first-rate equipment was currently unusable due to the level and stat restrictions. So, they were just being safe kept in his inventory for the moment. You'll be able to select them on the day of the test. Everyone has to use the same grade of equipment for it. Seems fair. Junho couldn't help but smirk. It's honestly quite refreshing. Can you believe that I'm being evaluated like this after all I've been through? Just don't go too crazy. As for me, I guess I'll need to create an identity for you. Date of birth. Background story. Acquaintances. I guess I'll be pretty busy for a while. How long do you think it'll take you? 4 or 5 days. How long do you think it'll take you to get ready? About a month. After hearing that question, Junho had a cocky smile on his face. 1 week. That'll be more than enough. Seo Junho sat on the floor, in the middle of the room, with his legs crossed and eyes closed. It was a technique for improving the flow of magic power. He learned it from his comrade, Rama. Getting my body back in shape will be no simple task. It would take at least a few months for him to train his body. Of course, he couldn't just spend his time training for who knows how long. That's why he decided to start with stuff he could improve on right away. My magic stat is only 18. It was a pretty unimpressive stat. Even slightly talented players often awakened with at least 20 magic stat. Damn, I'll have to struggle like hell again to increase my magic. Reminiscing his old memories brought a shadow to Junho's face. The day that he awakened as a player was also the day that he swore vengeance after losing his family. That was when he obtained the S-rank skill Watchguard of Darkness. However, it took half a year before he was able to use the skill properly. There was a simple reason. This stupid skill. It requires so much fucking magic. As powerful as it was, it required equally as much magic to use. Junho, who possessed less magic than the average person, did everything he could to make up for his weakness. All your stats increased by 1 every level. When he had just become a player, that was the only method he knew to raise his magic. So he killed monsters again and again to grind up levels. In the time that a person would go hunting once, he went on a hunt at least 3 to 5 times. While others were hospitalized from injuries, he just put on some bandages and continued to hunt. After a few years of repeating his hellish routine, he had become the world's greatest player. Phew. After emptying his thoughts, Junho started slowly gathering the magic inside his body. The magic started flowing through his entire body, awakening his magic circuit. I've gotten real rusty. Due to not using it for 25 years, his magic circuit has fallen into a deep slumber. People commonly compared magic to trains, and magic circuits to train tracks. It was only natural for an unused train track to become covered in foliage. It was the same thing for Junho's magic circuit. It's been so long since any magic has flowed through it that it became rusty. Most players actually don't concern themselves about such details, since no matter the condition, one can still use magic. However, Junho was the kind of person who felt unsatisfied if his circuit wasn't in tip-top shape. I already lack magic, I need to at least use it as efficiently as possible. There was a smaller loss of magic when it passed through a clean and clear circuit. That's why Junho always maintained his magic circuit as best as possible. I'm only at 70% magic efficiency. This is basically unusable. Rush. Junho collected the little magic he had onto a single point and unleashed it onto his rusted magic circuit. Magic quickly started rampaging through his circuit, which was spread across his entire body like tree roots. As magic coursed through the circuit, it slowly scraped off the impurities. Swoosh. When he opened his eyes again, 3 hours had passed. His entire body was soaked in sweat. Sniff, sniff. Luckily, I don't stink. Maybe it was because he was trapped in ice. There weren't much toxins built up inside him. This was good news. It meant that he could just focus on getting his body back to its optimal condition. After getting up from his spot, Junho tried gathering some magic. Unlike 3 hours ago, he was able to gather magic with greater ease. 95% magic efficiency. It's less than what I had, but this isn't too bad. This satisfying sensation was the reason why. He took good care of his magic circuit. With a satisfied smile, he tightened his fist. Junho started gathering all the magic he possessed. It was time to test the limits of his skills. Whoosh! The darkness created by magic bloomed flamboyantly, like a drop of black paint that fell in water. Someone who has seen this for the first time might even describe it as beautiful and approach it. But anyone who knew the truth about this skill would never do such a stupid thing. Darkness was more heinous and violent than any other attribute. Koog. Junho's face started crumpling while maintaining the skill. Ugh. Cough. Cough. Unable to hold it anymore, he started hacking and coughing. When he was able to lift his head back up, the darkness had subsided. Wiping the spit off the corners of his lips, he thought to himself, so this is my limit with my current magic. Many thoughts rushed through his head. In this case, how should I utilize it in real combat? How did I fight when I used to lack mana? Ugh, I really am fucking short on magic. After searching through his memories, he quickly found the answers. I could use it as a blind or a trap, since I can only momentarily affect physical matter. He would be able to blind the target or grab their ankle. That was all he could do right now with his insignificant amount of magic. Once I replenish my magic, let's look into my frost skill. Thanks to the effects of the one who opens spring, he could notice the fast recovery speed of his magic. Once his magic was fully replenished, he squinted his eyes. In thought, I wonder what it's like. He was so curious, he thought he would go mad. When he gained proper control over the S-rank Watchguard of Darkness, he became unmatched. Frost was X-rank, so it should be even stronger. He was honestly even a bit terrified. Is this thing also going to eat up a shit ton of magic? With a worried face, Junho slowly closed his eyes. Like this, or no, is it? Like this? Darkness and Frost. The two abilities were similar in that it created something from nothing. Thanks to that, he was able to activate the Frost skill much easier than he anticipated. Shoo! The ground he stood on froze solid. In contrast, there was a warm smile on his face. It uses up less than I expected. As an X-rank skill, it definitely took a bit of magic, but it used up similar amounts of magic as Watchguard of Darkness. That meant that it had a great magic to performance ratio. If it only takes this much magic, I think I'll be able to use it in actual combat with just a slightly higher magic stat. Also, unlike Watchguard of Darkness, he didn't have to experiment to figure out how to optimally utilize it. I've already seen enough of how it should be used. Junho battled against the Frost Queen for over 70 hours. That means he learned her techniques for 70 hours. And he didn't just see it. He experienced it firsthand. I can't wait for the examination. The wide smile on Junho's face wouldn't subside. A week flew by pretty quick. During that week, Seo Junho trained his body and memorized all the materials that Shimdyaku brought over. Most of it was a summary of major events that occurred in the last 25 years. Alright, I'm ready. Pop, pop, pop. Junho cracked his neck and put on some casual clothes. He was planning on getting discharged from the hospital on top of taking his test. Though, there will still be a body double that will occupy this bed for me. Officially, Spectre was still bedridden. The association released a public statement saying that he was in critical condition and needed at least a few months to recover. Reveal Spectre Nim * to the public. T/N, Nim is an honorific used in Korean to refer to someone with respect. Reveal him. After leaving the hospital, Junho walked away from the chaos of loud reporters and civilians. Some were even using a megaphone. Reveal my ass. Do they not feel sorry for a hospitalized patient? Though, if they had any common sense, They wouldn't be making such a ruckus first thing in the morning. But he really couldn't comment more on it, since he was the root cause of the commotion. After getting on a taxi, he immediately headed to the Players Association headquarters. They must have spent a pretty penny. The 80-floor building had an elegant, curved design. In front of the building, countless people were gathered. They were all people applying for the player permit exam. Junho had pre-registered, so he was able to enter without having to stand in line. Please rest in the waiting room for the meantime, and enter once it's your turn. Junho glanced over at the queue monitor. Number 75. He still had a bit of time until his turn. Clamor, clamor. The waiting room had a surprisingly relaxed atmosphere. It was because the permit exam didn't have a limit to the number of participants that could pass. As long as you were skilled, you would pass, so there was no need for people to be conscious of each other. Phew. After sitting down at a chair, Junho crossed his arms, closed his eyes, and listened closely. He was able to gather intel that wasn't found in the very formal materials that Deokgu handed him. Did you see the news this morning? Finally, the ancient dungeon on the second floor will be raided. The Sky's Breath will, apparently. Today's judge will be the association president Shim Deokgu of all people. Sigh, if I fail the exam again, it'll be my third time. It's been 2 years since I awakened, but I still haven't been able to pass the test. Am I really that untalented? Does anyone know which weapon has the highest probability of passing? There really isn't any super useful information. That shouldn't be surprising, since it was a conversation among people that haven't even become a player yet. In fact, it would be more shocking if they knew any valuable intel. The moment he opened his eyes after losing interest in reconnaissance, an announcement started. Participant number 1, please enter. A humongous holographic screen appeared in the center of the waiting room. One could clearly observe the situation inside the testing room with it. Soon, participant number 1, who just finished selecting his weapon in the prep room, came up on screen. A spear. He was holding a long spear, and his face was full of anxiety. However, the exam didn't care for his condition, starting without any warning. Oh ho! Holographic monsters charged at the man. He took a large swing with his spear, advancing towards the monsters. That made them slowly back off. Oh, isn't he quite fierce? The monsters are retreating because they're scared. I'm so jealous. Number 1 looks like he's going to easily pass. Amazement from the participants who didn't know anything filled the waiting room. However, Junho simply shook his head. Come on, that's not how you use a spear. The spear was a weapon that was most effective when you secured a safe distance from your opponent. Getting that up close meant that he had no proper understanding of the spear. And would you look at that? The man fell down on his ass after getting tangled up with the monsters that charged back at him. With that, the combat was over. The monsters disappeared in an instant, and the man held a dazed look while he was given the notice of failure. So this is how this goes. Seo Junho could feel his body itch, full of anticipation. He wondered if he would be able to feel the sensation of cutting against holographic monsters. The layout of the judge's room was quite unique. One side of the room was a glass wall, which gave you a complete view of the examination room. In front of the glass wall was a cushy sofa, where 10 men and women sat. This participant is also pretty lackluster. He appears to have not studied the characteristics of the monsters or tactics to face off against them. That kind of preparation should be essential for a player. I think it'll be best to fail him. One by one, the guild's observers spoke, but unlike the usual, they were unable to strongly voice their opinions. They all carefully gave their 2 cents, watching the mood of one of the people in the room. I'm of the same opinion. Let's fail him. Though the Korean Players Association might no longer have its former glory, he was still the president of the association. All the observers were careful to not upset Shim Deokgu. Bring in the next participant. As soon as Deokgu finished speaking, an announcement was made. After a minute, a new participant entered the examination room. At the same time, multiple observers frowned. Sigh. Every test, there is always at least one person who does this. Isn't this way over the top? Though, sword, bow, throwing knives, even a spear and a gun. He basically brought in as many weapons as he could. Despite lacking understanding of the weapon, they always bring in a whole bunch like that. They probably think that the more weapons they have, the stronger they become. Do they think that they're Spectre or something? Looking at how skinny he is, I'm even doubtful of his ability to take care of himself. This participant had what people commonly called the Spectre disease. They were little greenhorns that wanted to copy Spectre, who was called the master of all weapons, aka the walking arsenal. Their common characteristic was that they carried around multiple weapons. Even we're baffled. I bet this really grinds your gears, President. What do you mean? Well, aren't these people imitating your close friend, Spectre Nim? And you were closer than anyone else to him, the one that people called the perfect player. That is indeed true. This is quite a funny situation. Participant number 75, please enter. It's finally my turn. As soon as he heard the announcement calling for him, Seo Junho entered the prep room. Inside, there was an association employee that started talking to him. We welcome you, participant Seo Junho. Yes. You can select any weapon you want from this room, and once you are ready, you simply have to exit through this door. Junho looked around at all the weapons displayed in the room. On top of the 18 arms of Wushu *, bows and pistols, there were even unique weapons like halberds prepared. Tien, the 18 main weapons of Chinese martial arts. The actual list of 18 weapons differs depending on the school of martial arts. There's no limit on how many weapons I can take, right? Yes. Every once in a while, there are people who pick more than 2 weapons. That's good to know. With a face full of excitement, Junho started grabbing weapons left and right. First, he holstered a Glock 17 to his waist, and hung a bow and quiver on his back. Next, he secured 5 throwing knives onto his thigh and a sword to his waist. Finally, he picked up a spear. Watching Junho, the employee let out a small sigh before asking, Participant Seo Junho, are you planning on bringing in all those weapons? Can I not? Sigh. No, you can. The employee shook his head. Because he's seen many other participants like Junho, he knew it was pointless to advise them against it. Having lost the ability to give a fuck, he handed Junho a pair of gloves. If you've finished preparing, please equip these gloves. Noticing the blank face on Junho, he started explaining. This is a magical tool that lets you interact with the summoned holographic monsters in the examination room. Oh, that's cool. Junho put on the gloves, and after a final check on his weapons, he raised his head. I'm ready, so am I good to go? Yes, you just have to enter through this door. Junho opened the door, and entered the examination room. The room was much larger than it appeared on screen, and the entire room wall, floor, and ceiling was white. Participant Seo Junho, are you ready? Whoosh, swoosh. He nodded at the speakers while gently spinning around the sphere. Then the evaluation will commence. Immediately after the announcement ended, monsters started spawning all around him. This is even cooler in person. The holographic monsters were so vivid, it felt like real monsters were in front of him. While being in awe, Junho already finished analyzing the monsters. 20 dwarves *. Huh. It does seem like a few too many for a beginner. Tien, it is possible that the monster that the author is referring to is a gnome or some other short mythological creature here. This was the reason why the passing rate for the permit evaluation was not even 3%. The average height of a dwarf was 130 centimeters compared to a human male adult. They were much smaller, and their physical abilities matched their small physique. As much as the players knew this fact, dwarves were even more self-aware of their weakness. Dwarves are smart and cunning. They were monsters that used their relentlessness and cunning to make up for their lack of physical prowess. So if you underestimated them and recklessly approached them like participant number 1, you will find yourself suddenly knocked over. And if you ever get knocked down, it was game over. Their daggers will tear you apart like your Julius Caesar. Junho couldn't help but chuckle, watching the dwarves who were on their guard against him. This is making me nostalgic. The ugly, drooling dwarves reawakened his old memories. Things have really gotten better. We didn't have stuff like this before. Permit evaluation? Holographic monsters? Such luxury. Long ago, the only way to become a player was to risk your life and enter a gate. If you came back alive, you were issued a permit, and if you failed, you left no traces of your corpse. Back in my day, you had to put in a thing called effort. And I mean a load of effort. T/N, Oki Boomer. Effort to not die and effort to kill the monster. And even after putting in a lot of effort, it was still common for a player to die because they were simply unlucky. After living through such a turbulent time, holographic monsters were funny to Junho. They might be really great imitations, but they were still fakes. Created by an AI. Will this make them attack me? Junho slightly shifted his hips, purposefully creating an opening. Without any hesitation, dwarves charged at him while hissing. 1.5 meters. The sphere he was holding was approximately 130 centimeters. Taking his arm length into account, he was able to take complete control over the 1.5 m radius around him. Of course, the mobs made of data in front of him wouldn't know such things. Krug, Kiineg. Tightly gripping their daggers with both hands, 4 impatient dwarves jumped towards Junho. They planned on swinging at his head with all their might, but the moment their bodies were at the apex of their jump heave-ho, Junho had a small frame, yet the muscles on his arms suddenly ballooned up. Pow pow! The spear blew up the heads of the dwarves. At lightning speed, their bodies turned into polygons and disappeared before it could even hit the ground. Kairup. Hiss. The death of their comrades halted their charge and made them disperse. Dispersing and surrounding a stronger enemy. They've done a good job replicating their behavior. Junho planted his spear into the ground. But that's not going to be enough against me. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Asterisk. With his left hand, he pulled out the 5 daggers on his thigh, and with his right hand, he readied his Glock 17. Start with the guys behind me. Swoosh. Junho threw the 5 daggers behind him. Bang, 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 bang. The Glock 17 spat fire. 5 with the daggers, 4 with the pistol. In a literal blink of an eye, 9 dwarves disappeared before they could even let out a peep. Ki, Kyog. Kuurang. The massacre dampened the bloodthirst of the 7 remaining dwarves, making them slowly walk backwards, away from Junho. Oh, so they even feel fear. Having read the emotions off their eyes, Junho was entertained. Damn, this is pretty sadistic. Can you kill a monster that has lost the will to fight? That's what the test was asking the player. Well, I only have one answer for that. Junho grabbed the bow that was hanging on his back, immediately drawing an arrow. Kai, Keeg. Succumbing to fear, the dwarves started running away. Due to their small size and quick speed, they were a beginner archer's worst nightmare. But I have weapon mastery, and Gilbert taught me archery and gunmanship. Gilbert Green was one of the 5 heroes. He was a gunman known as the Grey Envoy. I can't smear mud on his face now, can I? Puyul. As Junho drew his bow, the dwarves started running faster. Despite being holograms, their desire to survive was even greater than real dwarves. Junho closed one eye and aimed at his moving target. His form was textbook perfect. Whoosh! The arrow was shot without any warning, piercing the dwarf's back. An amazing feat, as the dwarf has been zigzagging. However, Junho wasn't satisfied by this. He quickly grabbed another arrow. Whoosh, whip, whoosh. 3 arrows flew one after another, creating 3 polygons. Phew. After the last show, he put down his bow and caressed the scabbard of his sword. The finale should be this guy. The sword was the weapon he had been using the longest, so it was also the weapon he was most confident in. Kayaak. Did they realize that they would die no matter how much they ran? The final 3 dwarves charged back, their eyes bloodshot. Brush, brush. Even though the dwarves were charging at him, Junho just stood there, stroking his scabbard. He drew an imaginary line, 1 meter in front of him. It marked the maximum reach of his sword, and it was also the death line for the dwarves. Kayak. Kryak. The moment the dwarves crossed the death line, Junho smirked as he gripped his sword. If you cross the line, the steel of the sword revealed itself in a flash. Swoosh, slice. A single, clean-cutting sound echoed, and the beheaded bodies of the dwarves dispersed as polygons. You deserve death. His display of skill was enough to impress anyone, but Junho looked down in disappointment at his hand wielding the sword. I really have gotten dull. It shouldn't be a surprise, but his current skills couldn't even hold a candle to him in his prime. That wasn't the only lament. It hurts. Having pushed his body to its limits, his bones and muscles were screaming in anguish. In order to explore the gates, I'll have to build up my body a little. While making a face of displeasure, Junho listened to the results of his examination. Pass. Participant number 75, Co Junho Nim. Congratulations on passing. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Incredible. I literally don't know how to describe it any other way. When Junho's test was over, the observers couldn't hide their amazement. Normally, they sat in their chairs feigning refinement, so their action of sticking to the glass window with excitement spoke for itself. I stand corrected. He isn't some discount Spectre copycat. From the spearmanship that perfectly utilized its range, to the usage of throwing knives, marksmanship, archery, and ending with that powerful but refined swordsmanship, his understanding of weaponry is outstanding. And look at the balance of his body. Just by looking at him, you can tell he lacks muscle mass to the point that it's almost pathetic, yet he's able to move like that. The observers couldn't stop complimenting Junho. That's when the only other person than Shimdiakgu, who has been remaining silent, started speaking. Looking at his profile, his only skill is weapon proficiency, and it's only D rank. Huh. Only D rank. The observers quickly clambered down like they were a fire that got sprayed with water. It's not even his sub-skill, but it's his only skill that's D rank? That doesn't seem too promising for me to back him. So this is that case. Someone who put all their effort into the one skill they possess. I wonder, did he put everything on the line for this evaluation knowing that his own skill is lackluster? It really won't be worth it to invest in him. I almost got tricked. The observers quickly finished their calculations. If his skill was even at C rank, they would have scouted him to their guilds. But it's only D rank? Of course, if they invest enough, and with a bit of luck, he could become a top-tier player. However, they were scouts of profit-seeking guilds. Winning a gamble tastes sweet, but nothing is more bitter than losing one. Why should I pick the harder, more dangerous road when there is an easier path? I do like his sense of combat, but I'm not quite sure about signing him. Without even realizing it, he was being treated like chicken ribs, not enough meat to feel satisfied, but that didn't mean you should just let someone else have it. It was a perfect metaphor for a player that they didn't want to sign on, but they also didn't want to let another guild have him. Diakgu watched them struggle with their dilemma, peacefully taking a sip from his coffee. This should be enough pretense for me to bring on Junho without ruffling any feathers. Junho exhibited a perfect result in the evaluation. There was enough of a reason for him to fully invest in him. Even if the scouts were hesitating to sign him on, deeming him as having little potential. It almost makes me feel bad for hiding the skills he has from them. Scribble, scribble. After signing off the final paperwork that needed approval today, Shimdiakgu lightly organized his desk. He wore a bright smile as he finished his work for the day. LMAO? Damn, this novel's so hilarious. A dark shadow wiped away his smile. He could see a nuisance in front of him. A nuisance that was lying down on his office sofa, eating chips and drinking cola while reading a novel. The most respected player in the world, the player that everyone aspires to be like. Diakgu thought, is it okay for someone like him to have that honor? After letting out a deep sigh, he approached Junho. What are you reading? Huh? It's a novel where the main character is a priest, but all he does is swing his sword around instead of healing. TN, this is a reference to another LN by the same author, President of Healing, Sun's Priest. What a crazy-ass priest. Taking a seat on the sofa directly opposite him, Diakgu tapped his Vita, holographically displaying a few documents. Take a look at these. There. The stuff that you asked for. Oh ho. Junho's eyes glimmered as he lowered his book. Flap. He closed his book and sat upright, reading the digital documents floating in front of him. Damn. They're all what I asked for. You really are good at your job. Diakgu felt conflicted while watching his friend who appeared happy. No need for compliments. Tell me why you needed this data instead. You're not planning on rating them, right? Of course I'm rating them. Why would I waste time researching them if I wasn't planning on entering? What? But, Diakgu quickly schemed through the displayed documents. They were information on all the uncleared gates that people haven't been able to clear during the last 25 years. You know what it means to be uncleared, right? A mistake inside a gate equals death. You think I wouldn't know such a basic fact? Players that have gone inside uncleared gates died without even leaving behind a corpse. Don't worry. They're still low level, easy-ass gates. I guess they don't even have any stars yet. Stars? What are you talking about? Junho's question made Diakgu exclaim, oh, right. I forgot. This is something that became a thing while you were asleep. Diakgu tried to explain it as simple and fast as possible. Stars. They were given to a gate every time over 10,000 players died inside it. This idea started 17 years ago, and a total of 14 gates have received stars so far. Up till now, there hasn't been a gate where more than 20,000 people have died, so 1 star is the highest rating a gate has ever received. A total of 11 of them have been cleared so far. The remaining 3 gates are called the 3 great uncleared gates of the world. Wait a sec. Haven't I cleared a few gates with over 10k deaths before? While he was Spectre, there were a few gates with over 10k player casualties. They were gates that were far more common in overpopulated countries like China and India. I think I cleared 3, no, 4 of them? That's right. Publicly, Spectre has obtained 4 stars. Does that give you a feel for the strength of 1-star gates? Yep. So you guys call them 1-star gates now. They were clearly different from the other gates. Compared to other gates, the boss monsters that appeared in them were on another level. The 1-star gates that Junho remembered were places like that. Wait, if I only have 4 stars, does that mean the Frost Queen's nest had no stars? Of course. She never killed 10,000 people. You guys were the first challengers of the nest, Diaku said, shrugging his shoulders. The current 9 greatest players, A.K. of the 9 heavens, all have at least 1 star. What a childish nickname, calling people heavens. Haha, are you jealous? What do you mean jealous? Junho replied with a pout. Diaku continued while thinking how cute his friend was. Anyways, you're still just level 1. Even if they don't have any stars, I think uncleared gates are too risky for you. Diaku, have you ever heard of this saying? Junho lifted his chin, made a cocky face, and spread his arms wide onto the sofa. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Are you not embarrassed saying that about yourself? Nope. It's the truth. Why should I be embarrassed? If he wasn't sure he could clear it, he would have never attempted them. To Junho, hunting was the one thing he was always cold and analytical about, never letting his emotions sway him. What are you so worried about? Besides, aren't uncleared gates a pain for the association as well? That's true, but I don't want to send my friend somewhere dangerous. Ego star. Tien, Korean equivalent of Hia. Junho couldn't help but let out a sigh, seeing his friend having grown old and full of worries. I know this is supposed to be a touching moment, but I'm going because it's beneficial to me. Beneficial? Beneficial how? The longer a gate goes uncleared, the more EXP it gives as a reward. Gates that haven't been cleared for years end up accumulating a ton of EXP, so what? You want to go into an uncleared gate just so you can level up quicker. Because that's the fastest way for me to level up. Can't you just safely grow stronger by raiding normal gates? With your skills, your growth rate shouldn't be slow at all. Not being slow isn't enough. Junho looked at Diaku with a serious face. As long as the fiends are after me, time is not on my side. That's why I need to level up as fast as possible. He needed to become strong, at least to the point that he could fight back even if his identity gets exposed. The only people who can go up to the 2nd floor, the frontier, are players above level 30. Getting to level 30 as fast as possible was Junho's current goal. Having heard Junho's honest words, Diaku nodded with a heavy expression. I didn't think that far. I didn't realize you were feeling so much pressure. I wouldn't call it pressure. To be honest, he just wanted to beat up the fiends that were after him, not knowing their place. However, Junho had no plans of correcting his friend, who thought he became more mature. Then the first gate you could enter, looking at the documents in front of him, Diaku's brows frowned. Oh no, there's only one uncleared gate for a level 1. It was a monstrous gate that swallowed up a total of 142 players since it appeared 7 years ago. Since only level 1 players could enter, people call it the novice's grave. Even the name of the gate gave people the creeps. The Curse of Dawn. Junho shrugged after reading the name of the gate. The name honestly makes me think that zombies might appear. There's no way to know until you go in. The clear condition is to survive until sunrise. That's nothing. You're always too confident. However, Diaku could never blame Junho, since he had the skills to back up his confidence. Diaku took a card out of his coat pocket and handed it to Junho. Here's your sign-up bonus. It was the money he received by signing a contract with the Player Association. As soon as Junho took the card, Diaku grinned super wide. From today on, you'll be my underling for a year. You think it's funny? Wanna get bossed around by your underling? a 200 million won asterisk signing bonus, an annual salary of 1.5 billion won asterisk, and even additional rewards and benefits for gate clears. Those were the terms of the contract that Seo Junho signed, terms never heard of before for a newbie. TN, approximate $175,000/$1.3 million, right? For your housing. What if you resided here in the Player Association building for now? We have a residential area for association players here. That doesn't sound like a bad idea. It would guarantee my safety. There were over 100 players that lived in the association building, and a magic barrier covered the entire building. Unless one was beyond batshit crazy, one could never even dream of attacking here. Junho quickly made a decision after taking all the factors into account. I guess I'll live here, but make sure to give me a room with a view. As you wish. If you do well, I'll even give you a whole floor. I look forward to it. By the way, Deok-gu carried over a huge box from the corner of the room. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, he signaled Junho with his eyes. Open it up. It's your armor. Armor. Filled with expectation, Junho opened the box right away. Inside the box, there was a leather armor set. Leather armor was always his armor of choice, so he quickly picked it up. It's light. After scratching the surface of the armor with his nails, he nodded in approval. And it's durable? This is way better than I expected. Of course it is. It's made by the Kwan Noya. What? Junho's eyes widened. Who was Kwan Noya? He was a world-class blacksmith who used to swing his hammer only for Spectre. That old man still alive? Isn't he at least 100 years old? He turned 98 this year. He passed on his workshop to his grandson long ago, but he's still well and alive. Damn. Well, I can't just take this without showing my gratitude. I'll have to go see him in person. He was ready to leave right away, but Deok-gu stopped him. I can't let you do that. What? Why? We need to be cautious of everything for your own safety. Are you doubting Kwan Noya right now? Junho sharpened his eyes. It wasn't an exaggeration to call Kwan Noya his first ever comrade. It's not him that I'm doubting. Deok-gu shook his head. His face was saying, how could I ever doubt him? It's the eyes of the fiends and guilds that I'm cautious of. So they have eyes on the workshop. It can't be helped. It's well known that Spectre and Kwan Noya were close. Now that Spectre had returned, it was unavoidable for people to keep an eye on Noya's workshop. If Junho visited the workshop and met Noya, it would raise suspicions. There weren't many people in the world that had the privilege of talking face to face with Kwan Noya. You're right. If a novice player went to Noya's workshop, it'd definitely raise a few eyebrows. I sent someone to explain the situation to Kwan Noya while they were purchasing the armor. I'm sure he'll understand. Good work. He was a bit disappointed he couldn't go see him in person. Though he was a raggedy old man that complained non-stop, they shared a close bond. It can't be helped. I'll just have to wait until I've leveled up a bit. Besides, Junho looked down at his scrawny arms. That geezer, he's even better at giving a lecture than Deok-gu. If he went to the old man in his current state, he couldn't even imagine how many hours he'd talk his ear off. Smirking, Junho got up from his seat. Thanks for the armor. What about weapons? There are quite a few useful things in the association warehouse, so feel free to use whatever you want. After quenching his thirst with coffee, Deok-gu asked a really important question. So, when do you plan on raiding the gate? Originally, I planned on going right away, but the evaluation changed his mind. I was so exhausted after only killing 20 dwarves. A gate, especially an uncleared gate, would be a much more difficult trial than fighting 20 dwarves. I might be short on time, but I should get back in shape. That's a good plan. How long do you think it'll take you? Since I just need to meet the bare minimum requirements, Junho gave it a thought with his eyes closed. 10 days. Let's set that as my goal. Time flew by in a flash. Mount Shinma in the city of Namyangju was just slightly shy of the safe zone. And so, 7 years ago, a gate appeared there. Screech. A self-driving taxi stopped in Chinma's parking lot, which was located very close to the gate. From the taxi, an average-looking man in his mid-20s got out. So this is the place. The man was Seo Junho, who managed to gain a bit of weight in the last 10 days. He was still skinny, but his eyes had a new shine to them. Junho stared at the 4-foot-tall, blue oval in front of him. Gates. Mysterious portals that were connected to unknown worlds. Riddled with traps and monsters, you could trust nothing inside a gate. Only trust yourself. And in order to trust yourself, you needed skills to back up that faith. He knew that better than anyone else, which is why he trained his body like a madman for the last 10 days. It was quite difficult. From the moment he woke up, until he fell asleep, he didn't stop training. He only stopped to eat for nutrients. It couldn't be helped. In order to improve his body with maximum efficiency, he had to be that rough on himself. Fortunately, the results of that hell-like training were satisfactory. Seo Junho Level 1 Title, the one who opens Spring STR, 25 STA, 27 SPD, 31 MAG, 18. Though he wasn't able to raise his magic stat, he was able to raise his strength from 21 to 25, stamina from 24 to 27, and his speed from 26 to 31. It's best to raise your stats as much as possible before you start growing. That was because it became increasingly harder to increase your stats from basic training as you level up. Now, shall I head in? An empty parking lot. A parked self-driving taxi. Meow. And a stray cat. That was everyone that witnessed Seo Junho's entry into the uncleared gate, Curse of Dawn. Step, step. As Seo Junho took a step into the blue oval gate, the world around him changed. Everything from the sights to even the air around him. So it's a graveyard. He had arrived at another world's graveyard. Not only the dirt he stood on but also the trees and grass were not of earth. Junho closed his eyes and started taking deep breaths. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. The air was unique and heavy, unlike any air he ever breathed on earth. With every breath, he could feel his cells waking up. That sensation comforted Junho. I must be going nuts, thinking this kind of place is cozy. After looking around his surroundings, Junho said, Gate info. That brought up a holographic window, displaying a summary of the gate. Curse of Dawn entry requirements, level 1 and below party cap, 10 people clear conditions, survive until sunrise difficulty, average It's just like I researched, but this isn't a hard condition at all. It was a relatively simple condition, to survive until sunrise. Looking up at the sky, the sun was slowly setting. That was possible because time inside and outside of the gate flowed differently. I got here at the perfect time. I'm glad I did my research. Even while he was busy building up his body, Junho did not slack off on researching this gate. As a result, he found out that the party that entered early in the morning survived the longest. That's why he purposely arrived at the gate in the morning. Parties that came in the afternoon probably struggled quite a bit. The moment a player clears their first gate, they become level 2. In contrast, this gate's entry requirement was level 1 and below. That meant that everyone who entered this gate were brand new novices that had never entered a gate before. And if novices had to start fighting as soon as they arrive at a foreign environment, their loss was inevitable. They probably didn't even get to fight at half their normal condition. I wonder how many will appear. On the other hand, Junho was perfectly prepared, ready to display more than 100% of his abilities. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The sun fell, and complete darkness befell the graveyard. Junho contemplated while staring at the starry sky. A ghastly aura. A blood-chilling aura overflowed the graveyard. It was an aura that the undead normally radiated, and it was something that you could never forget if you ever experience it. I hate this feeling. It feels like it's sticking to my skin. Letting out a sigh, Junho surveyed the graveyard with the help of the moonlight. The ground bathed in moonlight started shaking. Crack, smash. Dozens of hands started piercing through the dirt. I had my doubts, but it really was zombies. Junho unenthusiastically drew his sword. The moment one could easily kill a zombie was right now. No, you don't have to get up. Just stay the fuck dead. Stab, stab. Junho cleanly pierced the heads of the zombies that were crawling out from the ground. Zombies were known for being hard to kill, but even they couldn't move if their brains were destroyed. I can't see exactly how many, but there's quite a few of them. It was during nighttime when humans lost a lot of visibility. That's why most players disliked nights inside of gates. However, no matter where you went, there was always an exception to the rule. Night has come. Hunter's Night, A, has been activated. All stats increase by 10%. All your senses have been enhanced. That exception was Seo Junho, a player who could win day or night. It was one of the reasons why he was called the undefeated player. I can finally see properly. As part of his enhanced senses, his vision also improved. The silhouettes that were only barely visible thanks to the moonlight became clear as day. Damn, there's a lot of M. Looking at the dozens of corpses charging at him, Junho smirked. In the graveyard blessed by moonlight, an untimely party was ongoing. Except, unlike a normal party, there was neither exciting music nor fireworks. Instead, the sounds of zombies' heads rolling was the symphony, and the blood spraying everywhere was the fireworks. Guah. Dealing with zombies was not as easy as they made it seem to be in the movies. To start with, they were much faster than your average adult. These guys don't even bother defending themselves. Zombies didn't care about losing their arms or legs. Because they can't feel any pain, they could focus all their strength on attacking. They're the worst kind of monsters for a novice inexperienced with killing to face. I feel bad for you guys. I'm a super novice. The zombies' attacks couldn't even scrape Junho. Zombies had a simple attack pattern, only knowing how to charge and bite. To Junho, they were nothing more than moving punching bags. This sword from the association is pretty decent. The swords that the association provided to players were of higher quality than he expected. Thanks to that, it didn't take much force to slice the zombies' heads. Every time the sword shined in the moonlight, a zombie's head flew into the sky. But there really are a fuck-ton of them. He counted at least 40 of them. Even the great Seo Junho wouldn't be able to avoid a bite if he was surrounded on all sides with no room to swing his sword. And if I get bit, it'll be the end of me. That's why he did all he could to never let a zombie get behind him. Bang, bang, bang. As soon as 3 zombies passed by him, Junho, without even looking at them, pulled the trigger on his monster-grade Glock 17. The zombies' heads popped like water balloons. Guyuah. I'm glad I'm against zombies. Starting with orcs, you had to imbue your bullets with magic in order to pierce their hard skin. However, rotting corpses didn't require magical bullets. That's why experienced players weren't afraid of zombies. Because they didn't know fear, zombies made the best soldiers, but they could never be the best weapon. To be the best weapon, you need to be able to kill any enemy. The moment zombies faced an opponent far stronger than them, their value disappeared. Like right now. Phew, Junho glimpsed at his watch. 3 hours. That's how long it's been since the battle started. There were only 4 zombies remaining. Come at me already. I just want to go home and shower. Guah. Did one of them understand him? A zombie with an incredibly stinky breath charged at him. Finding the stench unpleasant, Junho placed the barrel of the gun directly onto his chin. Make sure you brush properly in your next life. Bang! Before even checking if the zombie died, he spun around with his sword. Slice. Guah. After cutting off the heads of 2 zombies in a clean horizontal line, the sword flew out of Junho's hand. Swoosh. Thump. The sword pierced through the zombie's head right between its brows, and the sword still had so much force left that it flew into a tree behind the zombie. The zombie with a hole in its head twitched a few times before flopping dead. Finally, after retrieving his sword from the tree, he wiped the blood off his weapon while looking around the now quiet graveyard. If he hadn't brought the pistol, things would have been quite the hassle. A horde of over 50 zombies continuously crept out of the ground at him. Thinking that something was off, he pulled up the status window. The gate hasn't even been cleared yet, but he already leveled up twice. Coming to an uncleared gate was the right decision. While he was patting himself on the back, he heard a voice from somewhere. Is someone there? The smile waned off Junho's face. Immediately. A voice? It was a woman's voice. A trembling voice, gasping for air, soon to be cut off any time. And she was speaking Korean of all languages. Where are you? A person? Here? I'm over here? Sob. Thank you so much. One could hear the strong conviction to survive in her voice. With the last of her breath, she kept notifying Junho of her location. Is this where you're at? Yes. I'm right below, a grave at the edge of the graveyard. The voice was coming from underground. Give me a moment. Junho started digging up the grave with his bare hands. He uncovered a dark brown coffin made of wood. So you came inside the gate 2 days ago with your friends? Yes. We heard that we could make it big if we conquered an uncleared gate. Sob. Oh my, that was rash of you guys. Clicking his tongue, Junho showed his remorse. I can't hear you well, so could I ask for you to yell really loudly? Yell? Why? Please just do this for me. After hesitating, the lady inside the coffin yelled at the top of her lungs. Ah! That should be enough. Making a eureka face, he mumbled to himself. So that's where the head is. He quickly drew his pistol and indiscriminately fired in the direction of the voice. Bang! 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 After emptying an entire magazine, Junho drew his sword as something that was dripping blood crawled out from the battered coffin. Guog! How did you know? The wretched-smelling monster appeared dejected. It couldn't be helped. While facing hundreds of players for the last 7 years, not once did they discover its identity. Junho pointed the tip of his sword at the head of the monster that was screaming in pain. I don't trust others easily, especially inside a gate. Fog! The sword easily pierced the monster's head like a knife through butter. Staring at the limp corpse, Junho chortled. There's no way there'd be a survivor inside a gate. As long as even a single player was alive, a closed gate never opened up. Even if they were novices, the players that succumbed to this monster probably knew that as well. However, there was a stark difference between simply knowing something and always keeping it in mind. After wiping out the zombie horde, Junho knew something was off. 50 zombies is definitely a big threat, but it's not something 10 players wouldn't be able to handle. However, the gate hadn't been cleared for a whopping 7 years. That was what put Junho on alert. It all adds up with the existence of the tricker. Trickers are much stronger than zombies, and they can even absorb the memories of the creatures they ate. The reason he was able to speak such fluent Korean is because of all the Korean players he devoured. Pretty cunning for a monster. You even hid yourself inside a coffin to hide your stench. Unfortunately for the tricker, he died without being able to put up any resistance because he was hiding in the coffin. Ding! A system message popped up. All hostile monsters have been killed. You have achieved the clear conditions in a roundabout fashion. You have successfully cleared Curse of Dawn. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. All your stats have increased by 2. You have regained 4 magic stats. The EXP gained from an uncleared gate was massive. On top of that, he also regained some of his lost stats. So I regain my lost stats every 5 levels? That's not a lot, but you have received the skill Confession of the Dead, C, as a clear reward. The gate will automatically disappear in 1 hour. A skill. Even though it was an uncleared gate, Co Junho hadn't expected anything better than a rare grade item. He was confused, but rather than be disappointed, he broke into a grin. I got a new skill right away. Isn't my luck too good? He wouldn't mind being wrong 100 times if he received a reward like this. He studied the skill's description. Confession of the Dead rank, C effect, allows you to look into the memories of the target. Only works on dead life forms. It lets me look into the memories of the dead. Like psychometry, it was likely one of the memory reading skills, but the conditions were much stricter. So, I can read the memories of the target, but they have to be dead. He could see it being useful to him in the future, but it wasn't a versatile skill. Suddenly, he realized why the gate had dropped such a skill. The tricker. The tricker was a monster that could steal the memories of a dead target, and gates tended to drop rewards related to the monsters within it. I'll have to do some research to see how I can best use it. Most importantly, with this, he was starting to acquire new skills that Spectre didn't have. Will I get stronger than before? He could barely imagine such a future. He looked up at the bright night sky with a small smile, wanting a cold beer. No matter where you go, there will always be people who do the opposite of what you do. Choi Man-duk of Namayeongju, 37, single, male, was one of those people. Tian, Namayeongju is a city in Gyeonggi province. Ho ho, hiking is great for your health. I don't know why they won't let us go up the mountain. After the gate in Shinma Mountain had appeared, the association immediately warned the citizens in the area. However, it was impossible to seal it off completely in such a large area. Some careless people had snuck up the mountain and found an open path. Kuh, the air here is sweet. Sweet, I tell you. Choi Man-duk had come at dawn to taste the early morning air. He wiped the sweat off his face with a towel and paused as he saw the gate in the corner of his eye. Still, I should be careful about getting too close to the gate. He made his way back to the tree at the entrance, then looked back up. Huh. His throat went dry. What? The gate is usually over there. Why can't I see it? Did it become an open gate after being left alone for so long? Choi Man-duk considered this, a chill climbing up his back. He shook his head to himself. No way. If it had really become an open gate, the association would have warned us already. Then why wasn't the gate there? Choi Man-duk swallowed and slowly made his way to where the gate had been, his curiosity getting the better of him. He looked around frantically as he reached the place where the gate was supposed to be. It's not here. There was only one explanation for this. The gate's been cleared. Thinking of his reporter friend, Choi Man-duk immediately tapped on his Vita. Hey, do chill. How've you been? You'll have to buy me a drink later. Tien, the expression doesn't translate well into English, but he's basically saying his friend will have to owe him for what he's about to tell him. ***** Breaking news, the so-called novice's grave, the gate curse of dawn, has disappeared overnight. Who is the mysterious player who cleared the uncleared gate? Rookies from guilds deny any affiliation. Jesus, it's been noisy ever since that guy showed up, mumbled Shimdiakbu with a grin on his face. He was relieved after hearing the gate had been cleared. Not only that, it'll be fun to watch those guild bastards be put on the spot. Even for the top guilds, clearing an uncleared gate wasn't easy. They didn't want to put their promising rookies in danger, and those of higher levels couldn't even enter them. Junho, are you really not gonna reveal yourself? Shimdiakbu looked faintly disappointed as he looked over the articles. He wanted to announce to the world that the mysterious player was Seo Junho of the association, but Seo Junho himself opposed to it. Be patient. It's not the right time. But it's such a waste. If we reveal it, you'll be famous in no time, and your value will go up. Tien, body price aka how much people will pay to hire him. Ego, you've always been weak to these sorts of things. Still, Seo Junho couldn't get mad at him for it. Why do you think people buy luxury goods? They're all mass-produced in the same Chinese factories. So you're saying you'll be a luxury item. Not just any luxury item. Seo Junho shook his head. I'll be like a legendary, limited edition collaboration item that everyone wants but can't get. So you're saying you'll pit them against each other. You get it now. Shimdiakbu narrowed his eyes. You have a bad personality sometimes. Your blood type is S, isn't it? Tien, in Korea, people think blood type dictates personality. S as in sadist. Of course not. I won't be able to drag it out for long anyways. He'd already cleared one uncleared gate. Some people would catch on. Won't they go to another uncleared gate? Then they'd start camping out in front of them. Seo Junho and Shimdiakbu could casually reveal themselves. Without lifting a finger. It wouldn't be dignified to make a big deal of announcing myself. Since when have you cared about dignity? But Shimdiakbu couldn't deny that it was a good plan. It was more effective to let the rumors spread on their own than to claim it themselves. Whatever, I get it. You don't need anything else, do you? There's one thing. Seo Junho waved the schedule in his hand. There's only one uncleared gate left in the country. Isn't that a good thing? From a national standpoint, yes. But after I clear it, I won't have anywhere else to hunt. How about I look into some foreign gates? That's what I'm thinking. They're a problem for other countries too. Of course. Shimdiakbu knew this because he'd been in contact with overseas associations. Our country is on the safer side. Big countries like China, Russia, and the United States still had a lot of uncleared gates. They want to get rid of them. And Seo Junho wanted to clear them. They had the same goal, so there wouldn't be an issue with sending him. Not only that, he would receive a hefty sum and create an international reputation. Leave it to me. I'll negotiate for the best possible conditions. It was time for him to step in. Shimdiakbu's eyes sparkled. Tremble. Seo Junho's arm shook beneath him, his sweat dripping on the floor. 71. He was doing a one-handed handstand while doing slow push UPS. His back was straight, and it was a great display of balance. 70. His right arm felt like it would collapse under the weight of his entire body, but he pushed on. I have to get past this. Get past the idea that his mind and body were one. Tien, not let his body go even though he wants to. He was well aware that doing so would let him move to the next floor. So, Seo Junho channeled all the strength in his body and pushed against his right hand. Uaok? 73. His body screamed as he collapsed in exhaustion. His hand trembled at the taste of freedom. At the same time, a wide grin spread across his face. Strength has increased by 1. After training for 2 days and nights, his strength stat had finally increased. It was a thrilling feeling after pushing his body to the limits. Ha! Haa! He let out a final breath and sat up, tapping his Vita as he chugged down water with his back against the wall. India's top rookie was unable to clear it in the past. When will the uncleared gate be conquered? Is it okay to leave the uncleared gate Left's garden alone like this? The crack is growing bigger. It doesn't seem like there's much time left until it opens completely. Pictures inside. Breaking news? Left's garden has reached 124 failed attempts. List of all fallen players. Will the player who cleared the Curse of Dawn challenge Left's garden? Spotlight piece. Seo Junho felt strange as he schemed the articles. Left's garden. It had first appeared 9 years ago and was Korea's oldest uncleared gate. Both the government and the association had tried everything to try to clear it. The government, the association, and the guilds had come together to offer 1 billion won, TN, $880,000. The prize amount was unheard of. For that reason, many parties had attempted it. For a total of 124 attempts, there were 124 failures, and 0 successes. Left's garden refused to fall to the hands of the humans. So that's why they decided to do that. He continued to read through the articles. In the past, the Korean Player Association had declared that there weren't enough qualified players to challenge uncleared gates and came to a decision during a conference. In the end, they hired India's rising star, Tushar Vishy, with the prize money. According to what he read, his abilities were amazing. But Seo Junho was still unconvinced, so he watched a few videos of his training. He's good. His form was perfect, and he shot arrows with amazing speed. If he had continued to grow like that, he would have surpassed Green. But he'd failed, and that failure brought upon his death. He was 22 years old with a bright future ahead of him, and not a trace of him was left behind. It's a shame. It was still a sore spot for both Korea and India. Seo Junho closed his eyes and sorted out his thoughts before he reached for the spear leaning against the wall. I should bring this. The spear was a cheat weapon that could dominate a battlefield if a perimeter around the user was established. The Luz probably have shield skills and a large attack area. A sword wouldn't have enough reach, and bullets wouldn't be able to pierce through their hide. Status window. Seo Junho level 5 title, the one who opens spring strength, 30 stamina, 31 speed, 35 magic, 26 except for magic. All of his stats were 30 and over now. With these stats, I'm stronger than most people who are level 10. He was likely the strongest level 5 player in the world right now. The 26 magic stat also enabled him to use the frost skill. It'll be my first time using it in real combat. What was this feeling? Fear? Anxiety? When Seo Junho looked into the mirror, he saw none of those things. In fact, he was grinning like a child on Christmas Day. Left's garden was located in Cheokshan village, an abandoned area of Jinbu Township in Gangwon Province. The area became deserted because people relocated to safe zones when they appeared. Screech. A man who was clearly irritated got out of the self-driving taxi in the rural area. God damn it. Why do I have to do this nonsense every day? The man whined as he grabbed his camera. He was promptly greeted by the other reporters who were already there. Hey, Reporter Young? Just got here. Shivering, Reporter Young ran over to his peers. Yep. BRRRR. Today's freezing as well. I can't believe we have to go through this torture every day. That's what I'm saying. There's not even a guarantee that whoever cleared the Curse of Dawn will also attempt Left's garden. Nope. There's none whatsoever. They want to find some big story before the major news networks, but they don't have any real leads, so they're abusing us little guys. Fucking hell. I swear I'm going to catch a big fish ASAP, so I can go join a major news network. The reporters continued to shit-talk their bosses to pass the time, when suddenly, a self-driving taxi pulled up on the dirt road. Huh? Is it another reporter? Seems like it. Another poor soul joins the grind. Well, it's not like we have it any better. Why don't we go introduce ourselves? A young man in his mid-20s got out of the taxi. He looked around for a bit, before confirming the gate and heading towards it. Huh? Wait a sec, is he headed inside the gate? What? Is he nuts? Stop him. The reporters rushed to block his way. The man that got blocked had a confused look on his face. What's the problem? What do you mean, what? Were you just trying to enter that gate? Yeah. Sigh, pissed. One of the reporters let out a deep sigh before putting his hands out. Let me see. What? I'm saying, let me see your player permit. What has the world come to? The man sighed, handing his permit with an attitude that said he couldn't give a flying fuck. Player. Co Junho. Hold up. It says here that it's only been 2 weeks since he got his permit. Are you kidding? Hey, do you have any idea where you were about to enter? Life's garden. And you still wanted to go in there. The reporters couldn't believe Junho's attitude. They looked at him up and down, and noticed that despite his high-quality equipment, he physically looked weaker than them. Why is he so fucking scrawny? Is he really a player? He's clearly not a physical-oriented player. Is he possibly a magician? Does he even eat properly? The reporters all silently looked down on him. But then, one of the reporters brought something to the group's attention. Huh? Isn't that the Player Association's emblem on the spear? It really is. Are you part of the Player Association? Yeah. Oh, is that so? One reporter exclaimed, as he exchanged quick glances with the other reporters. They thought that they would finally be able to write a headline story if they took advantage of this dim-wit-looking guy. Stealthily, they turned on their recorders before pruning him. Wow, you're so hard at work, despite your age. Do you get looked down upon by people because you work for the association? I don't really think so. When Junho denied it with a blank face, one of the reporters patted him on the back, getting overtly friendly. Come on. I'm looking out for you because you remind me of my younger brother. I mean, they sent you to this ghost town by taxi first thing in the morning to enter a gate. How is that fair treatment? Don't you think so, Reporter Young? Of course. They're really treating you harshly. I don't think any guild would ever treat one of their members like this. Ain't that right? Did the association lose their marbles or something? How dare they send such a youngster to an uncleared gate by himself? After watching the reporter's third-rate acting, Junho finished connecting all the dots. He could clearly tell what article they wanted to write. I see. So they want to write an article about the association forcibly sending in a player to an uncleared gate. A gate was a bomb of sorts. If people didn't regularly enter it, it would forcibly open gate. It was a phenomenon where monsters inside the gate overflowed into the outside world. Safe zones prevented the appearances of gates. It didn't protect people from monster attacks. That's why uncleared gates were a pain in the ass for the association. It's not like they could just force unwilling people to enter them. That's why these tabloid journalists kept spreading conspiracies. It's a conspiracy that will be on all the front pages if they can just obtain conclusive evidence. The association that should be protecting the rights of players is sending them to their doom? Even if it was just rumors, if it circulated enough, it would be enough cause for guilds to tear the association apart. Tabloid parasites will never change, not caring about facts, they only care about exciting gossip. The title of journalist is too good for them. Their articles had no ethics nor any objectivity. Since long ago, Junho refused to recognize these scum as real journalists. Junho brushed aside the reporter's hand off his shoulder, and he mumbled in a blood-chilling tone. There should be a limit to how much of a disgrace you can be as journalists. Junho massaged his neck, feeling drained before he even got to enter the gate. Come on. Just spit it out. What did the association tell you before sending you here? You keep pleading the fifth. Is that because you're facing pressure from the association? Without giving him any room, the reporters swung their mics in front of his face, annoying the hell out of him. Unable to take it anymore, Junho finally snapped. Hey, fucking scram. What? The reporters were shocked by his sudden swearing. No matter how famous of a player someone was, they never made enemies out of the media. With only a few exceptions, star players were all created by the media. Did you actually just say fucking scram to us reporters, the voice of the people? Seriously? I treat you like a brother and this is what I get. Don't you know that you can get cancelled if you act like this? Angry reporters, not knowing their place, yelled and glared at him. Reporters? I don't see any reporters in front of me. When Junho exuded killing intent, the reporters all flinched. Though his stats were at rock bottom, he was still someone who had faced all sorts of life-threatening trials. His killing intent was not something keyboard warrior office pigs could handle. How can he have such a look in his eyes? I might end up dying for a story at this rate. Is this guy an actual psychopath? The reporters had no choice but to turn tail and slowly back away. They could see the immeasurable irritation in Junho's face. These nobodies are really pissing me off. He could never imagine a reporter spouting bullshit in front of him, nor asking Spectre for his identification. To be more precise, some idiots tried that and ended up bankrupting their news organization after worldwide criticism. I miss the old days. Junho sighed at his current pathetic condition before entering the gate. Whoom. The reporters all snapped out of it when the gate's color shifted from blue to red. And no way. A red gate means that it's really locked, doesn't it? So he actually went in? Without even leaving any last words. Their faces gradually changed from shock to anger. That fucking disrespectful greenhorn. Isn't he a real son of a bitch? Don't the people have a right to hear about this? Player Seo Junho's true self. How dare he glare and speak to his elders like that? Let me tell you, back in my day, after having a swear fest, one of the reporters started packing up his belongings. I'm gonna call it a day. Huh? But Hyungnim asterisk, are you really going without seeing the results? Tien, Hyungnim is a Korean honorific used by men to refer to older males in a respectful manner. Do you really think it's worth seeing? Why? You think such a degenerate piece of shit can actually clear that gate? After cackling, the reporter pointed towards the gate. That guy, he's for sure gonna die in there. So why should I wait up? That's true. It's an uncleared gate, so his chances of clearing it is extremely slim. I'm telling you, it's not slim. There's zip. Nada. I'm telling you, the chief editor is going to agree with me. Sold on his logic, the reporters started packing up their belongings. Their mood had also been soured by Junho making a mockery of them. Why don't we have some gukbap asterisk at a rest stop on our way home? Tien, gukbap literally means soup, guk, and rice, bap. It's a popular, wide category of Korean food. Sounds good. I think this shitty feeling also calls for a drink. The reporters each got in their vehicles and started driving off the curvy rural road. The last reporter to remain looked back towards the gate before getting in his car. But what happens if he actually succeeds in clearing the gate while none of us are present? He tried to think things through. If this guy named Seo Junho actually managed to clear the gate, he would never get another chance to personally point a mic at him, because by then, he'd be a super rookie that is at the center of everyone's attention. Cutting his daydream short, the reporter snickered. Nah, this isn't some light novel. Sure that it would never happen. He also got in his car. Asterisk, this is pretty, said Junho. It was his first impression of Laef's garden. It was a garden that rivaled the Huntington Library botanical gardens in America. Flowers of all kinds were in full bloom. It was an objectively astonishing sight, yet Junho said the following: such pretty trash. Anyone who was ignorant of Luz would refute his claim. They'd exclaim, how can you call such pretty flowers trash? However, when the sun goes down, these flowers turn into the worst kind of monster. They were monsters derived from flowers called Luz. Whoosh, swoosh. Junho swung around his spear as a warm-up. Compared to the spear I used to use, it's pretty crappy. That was unavoidable. His favorite spear was a unique grade weapon. Compared to his old spear, this one not only had a very plain design, but the weight was also slightly off-center. Though Junho did have a tendency to use whatever weapon, he still couldn't call this spear decent. Maybe I just have too high a standard. After pompously talking to himself, he spun the spear around in a flashy maneuver. After practicing for 2 days, he had gotten well used to the spear's weight. Gate info. Laef's garden entry requirements. Level 510 party cap. 4 people clear conditions. Eliminate all monsters difficulty. Difficult. Laef's garden was a gate that allowed up to 4 players per party. So, Junho was the first person to ever enter this gate by himself. Even the super rookie from India brought 3 teammates. If they were acquainted, they should have worked well as a team. But the fact that they still failed meant that there is a dangerous trap hidden in this gate. And that's probably, Junho's eyes drifted beyond the garden. He spotted a maze with 3 m tall walls made of branches and vines. There's probably a trap hidden there.